In the early light of dawn, Shanghai awakens. The city stretches along the banks of the Huangpu River, wrapped in a soft golden haze. The skyline begins to glow as the first rays of sunlight touch the towering glass buildings of Pudong. The Oriental Pearl Tower stands tall, its reflection shimmering gently on the calm surface of the river. Across the water, the Bund slowly comes to life, its historic facades bathed in the warm glow of morning. The streets below are quiet, only a few early risers moving through the misty air. Vendors prepare their stalls, and the scent of fresh steamed buns drifts through the alleys. The city, usually filled with sound and motion, takes a slow, graceful breath as it greets the new day. Amid this balance of stillness and energy stands a building unlike any other, the Shanghai Museum. Its bronze-colored form rises in the heart of People's Square, elegant and powerful. Here, the noise of the outside world fades away, replaced by a calm that feels timeless. The Shanghai Museum is more than a landmark, it is the soul of the city. It embodies Shanghai's greatest paradox, a place where ancient history and modern ambition coexist in perfect harmony. Here, within its circular walls, the story of China's civilization unfolds, a story of art, culture, and identity that spans more than 5,000 years. As the sun climbs higher above the skyline, the light falls softly on the museum's entrance. Visitors begin to gather, cameras in hand, unaware that beyond these doors lies a journey through centuries of human creativity. The day has begun, and so too begins the story of the Shanghai Museum. At the very center of Shanghai, surrounded by gardens, fountains, and the rhythm of daily life, stands the ShanghaiMuseum.com, graceful and dignified. It rises from the heart of People's Square like a monument to memory, a bridge between the past and the present. To every visitor who approaches, its design speaks before a single word is read or a single artifact is seen. The building's form is unlike anything else in the city. It is round at the top, square at the base, a structure that carries deep symbolism drawn from Chinese philosophy. In ancient thought, the circle represents heaven, and the square represents earth. Together, they embody the harmony between the cosmic and the human, between what is eternal and what is lived. The Shanghai Museum, through its very shape, expresses that eternal balance, the connection between heaven and earth, the divine and the everyday. Its design was inspired by a sacred bronze vessel called a ding, used thousands of years ago in ceremonies honoring ancestors and gods. The ding was a symbol of power, authority, and reverence, an object of both beauty and meaning. By shaping the museum like a modern ding, the architects gave form to an idea that the preservation of art and history is itself a sacred act. It is not just a place to display objects, but a vessel that holds the spirit of a civilization. The museum's outer walls are clad in a warm bronze tone that seems to shift with the changing light. In the morning, it glows softly beneath the sun. At noon, it shines with quiet confidence. And at dusk, as the lights of Shanghai begin to flicker alive, the museum reflects the colors of the city around it, both ancient and new, timeless and modern. Inside, the design remains faithful to the same philosophy, simplicity, balance, and clarity. The halls are wide and filled with light. The air carries a sense of calm, as though time itself has slowed down to let you listen to the whispers of history. Marble floors guide visitors in gentle curves, leading them upward from one era to the next. The building itself feels alive, not just a container of artifacts, but a journey through layers of time. Every architectural detail serves a purpose. The grand central atrium allows natural light to pour in from above, symbolizing wisdom and enlightenment. The staircases spiral gently, echoing the rhythm of life and continuity. Even the alignment of the museum within People's Square was intentional, positioned to face both the government, buildings of the modern city, and the cultural roots of old Shanghai. It stands, literally and spiritually, at the meeting point of history and progress. When the museum first opened in 1952, it was much smaller, a humble but passionate institution determined to protect China's cultural treasures. But in 1996, it moved into this grand new home, designed by the architect Xing Tung. His vision was to create not just a museum, but a symbol, a place where the world could see the richness of Chinese civilization presented with elegance and pride. And so, the Shanghai Museum became more than a building. It became a statement that in the heart of a city racing toward the future, there must always be a space that honors the past. It became a mirror of China itself, rooted in ancient wisdom, yet open to the world, proud of its heritage, yet eager to evolve. As evening falls, lights illuminate the bronze facade, and the museum glows softly under the Shanghai sky. The circle and the square, heaven and earth, shine together in perfect harmony. And in that harmony lies the spirit of the Shanghai Museum, the spirit of a culture that has endured for thousands of years and continues to inspire the generations to come. Stepping through the grand entrance of the Shanghai Museum feels like crossing a threshold between worlds. Outside, the sounds of the modern city fade, the hum of traffic, the rhythm of footsteps, the pulse of a metropolis that never sleeps. Inside, a quiet stillness fills the air. The temperature drops slightly, and a soft, golden light guides you deeper into history. Ahead lies the first great chapter of China's story, the Bronze Gallery. This is where the journey begins, among the oldest and most sacred treasures of the Chinese civilization. The room is vast and solemn, its silence broken only by the gentle echo of footsteps across the polished floor. Inside glass cases, under carefully placed lights, stand ancient bronze vessels that have survived more than 3,000 years. They gleam faintly, each one holding secrets of the Shang and Zhou dynasties' eras that existed long before the Age of Empires. Long before the idea of China itself. These bronzes are not just objects of beauty. They are living witnesses to the dawn of Chinese art, technology, and belief. Each vessel, called a ding, gui, or yu, once played a central role in ritual and ceremony. They were used to offer food and wine to ancestors and gods, symbols of reverence and continuity. To hold such a vessel was to hold the connection between the human and the divine. The craftsmanship is astonishing. Delicate patterns of dragons, phoenixes, and mythical beasts coil across the metal surface, their forms frozen in time, yet full of movement and energy. These designs were not merely decoration, they were language. Every line, every symbol, spoke of protection, prosperity, and power. Each piece was forged by master artisans who melted, cast, and polished bronze with incredible precision. Using techniques so advanced they remain impressive even today. As you move through the gallery, you begin to sense the rhythm of a civilization finding its voice. From the heavy ritual vessels of the early Shang dynasty to the elegant, finely cast forms of the Zhou period, you can see art evolving from sacred utility to creative expression. The bronzes tell a story of innovation, of human hands shaping metal into meaning. One of the most remarkable displays is a massive ding from the late Shang era. Its handles are shaped like animal horns, its surface decorated with intricate thunder, patterns, spirals, and swirls believed to represent the energy of life itself. Standing before it, you can almost imagine the ancient ceremonies where flames flickered and drums echoed across the valley, as nobles and priests gathered to honor their ancestors. The smell of incense, the shimmer of torchlight on bronze, a world reborn through the artifacts that remain. But the bronzes also carry another story, one of power and authority. In ancient China, to possess bronze was to hold prestige. These vessels were marks of rank and symbols of rule. The larger and more ornate a vessel, the higher its owner's status. Even today, they remind us how art, politics, and belief were deeply intertwined, how beauty itself once carried the weight of law and faith. Among the many treasures of this gallery, some of the most delicate are the small bells and ornaments that once accompanied royal music. When they were struck, each bell produced a perfect tone, precise and clear, a harmony that represented the order of the universe. Those sounds may have faded long ago, but standing here, surrounded by silence, it's easy to imagine the echo, the faint resonance of bronze and ritual blending with the heartbeat of time. The Bronze Gallery is not simply a display of ancient metal. It is a living record of humanity's first great artistic awakening. It shows us that art was born, not only from imagination, but from the desire to communicate with forces beyond ourselves, to give form to belief, and to preserve it for those who would come after. When you leave the gallery, you carry with you a sense of awe, the feeling of having looked directly into the beginnings of civilization. The air feels heavier, the light softer, as though the ancient world has left its quiet imprint on your mind. And as you step toward the next hall, you realize that the Shanghai Museum is not just showing you history, it is guiding you through it, one masterpiece at a time. From the solemn glow of the Bronze Gallery, the path leads upward and forward into a world of color, texture, and light. Here, the hard gleam of metal gives way to something softer, more fragile, yet no less enduring. This is the Ceramics Gallery, one of the Shanghai Museum's greatest treasures, a tribute to the art of earth and fire. For thousands of years, clay has been part of China's story. It was shaped, fired, and perfected until it became something more than material. It became identity. Chinese ceramics are not only art objects, they are history written in form and color, a reflection of how people lived, believed, and dreamed. As you enter the gallery, you are surrounded by glass cases filled with pieces that span the ages, from the simplest hand-molded pots of the Neolithic period to the flawless porcelain of the Ming and Qing dynasties. Each one holds a story of patience and innovation, of hands that shaped the earth into beauty. The earliest pieces are humble, made by ancient communities thousands of years ago. They bear the marks of the fingers that molded them, the soft irregularities that reveal the humanity behind their creation. These vessels once carried water, stored grain, or held offerings to the spirits. They were part of daily life, and yet they already showed a quiet sense of artistry. Even in those early days, beauty and purpose moved side by side. As you move forward through time, the forms become more refined and the colors more vivid. The Tang dynasty brought boldness and life, pottery horses with powerful muscles, dancers frozen mid-step, and vessels glazed in rich shades of amber, green, and cream. This was an age of openness, when China's Silk Road connected east and west, and artistic inspiration flowed freely from distant lands. Tang ceramics captured that spirit, confident, worldly, and radiant with vitality. Then came the Song dynasty, an era of simplicity and grace. Here, the ceramics seem to whisper rather than shout. The glazes are soft, the lines clean, and the shapes perfectly balanced. In this period, beauty was found in restraint. A single bowl, smooth and unadorned, could express more emotion than any elaborate decoration. The celadon wares of Longquan, with their gentle green glaze and subtle depth, became symbols of quiet perfection. They were admired not only for their craftsmanship, but for their philosophy, serenity, harmony, and humility. As centuries pass within the gallery, you begin to see porcelain rise to its highest glory. During the Ming Dynasty, artisans unlocked the secret of pure white clay, creating porcelain so thin and luminous it seemed to hold light within it. The famous blue and white porcelain emerged here, delicate cobalt designs, flowing across the white surface like poetry written in glaze. Dragons, clouds, waves, and flowers, symbols of prosperity and eternity, danced across plates and vases, destined for palaces and emperors. The Qing dynasty brought new brilliance. Colors multiplied, and craftsmanship reached its most intricate level. Vermeil rose, vermeil vert, and enamel-painted porcelains filled the royal courts, shimmering with pinks, blues, and golds. Each brushstroke was the work of a master's hand, and every detail carried meaning, an expression of wealth, artistry, and devotion. Standing among these treasures, it's easy to forget that all of this began with the simplest of materials, clay and fire. From the earth's dust, through flame and time, came beauty that would define a civilization. Each ceramic piece in this gallery is a meeting point between human creativity and the forces of nature, where earth becomes art, and fire becomes life. The light in the gallery is gentle, illuminating every curve, every line. Reflections shimmer on the glass cases as visitors move slowly, silently, as though walking through a dream. Every vase and bowl is a fragment of eternity, preserved by craftsmanship so delicate it still feels alive. Here the past speaks not in words, but in color. Every shade, every glaze, tells the story of those who believed that art was not separate from life. That beauty could exist in something as ordinary as a cup or a jar. And as you stand before these masterpieces, you begin to understand that Chinese ceramics are more than artistic triumphs. They are the heartbeat of a culture, humble, enduring, and eternally beautiful. From the vivid colors of the ceramics gallery, you move into a quieter, more meditative space. The light softens. The air feels still, almost sacred. Here, the beauty is not in color or form, but in movement, in the elegant flow of ink across paper. This is the Calligraphy Gallery, a place where words become art and writing becomes the voice of the soul. For thousands of years, calligraphy has been considered the highest form of Chinese art, not merely a tool for communication, but a reflection of the mind and spirit. Every stroke of the brush carries emotion, rhythm, and personality. To write beautifully is to think beautifully. To control the brush is to control one's inner self. The gallery is lined with scrolls, some ancient and faded, others crisp and bold. Each one holds a universe within it. Long ribbons of silk or paper stretch across the walls, the black ink flowing like rivers across white space. From a distance, they seem like patterns of music, each stroke a note in a silent symphony. Up close, you can see the life in the lines, thick and thin, soft and sharp, each one shaped by the pulse of a human hand. Calligraphy, at its heart, is a balance between discipline and freedom. The writer must master form, the structure of characters, the pressure of the brush, the rhythm of each line. But true mastery comes when those rules dissolve into expression. The greatest calligraphers do not simply write, they paint emotions, revealing their thoughts, temperament, and even their mood at the moment of creation. On one wall hangs the bold, vigorous script of the Tang dynasty characters carved with confidence and power. Each line feels alive, charged with energy, as if the writer's spirit is still moving within the ink. Nearby, softer works from the Song dynasty reveal a more introspective tone, delicate, restrained, filled with quiet grace. They are not declarations, they are whispers. They invite you to pause, to breathe, to listen. Some scrolls are poems. Others are letters, messages written by emperors, scholars, monks, and poets. Though centuries old, they still carry a warmth that feels personal and intimate. You can almost imagine the writer sitting by candlelight, dipping the brush into ink, and letting the words flow slowly, thoughtfully, without haste. Each piece captures a moment that can never be repeated, frozen forever, in black ink. At the heart of this gallery lies a truth that Chinese culture has held for millennia, that writing and being are one. To practice calligraphy is to cultivate the self. The calm repetition of brushstrokes trains not only the hand, but the heart. It teaches patience, humility, and harmony. It is both meditation and expression. Art and philosophy combined. The tools of this art are simple, yet sacred. The brush, the ink, the paper, and the inks. Together, they are known as the four treasures of the study. Each has its own character and purpose. The brush, soft yet controlled. The ink, deep and enduring. The paper, smooth and receptive. The inkstone, solid and eternal. When combined in skillful hands, they become instruments of transformation, capable of turning silence into poetry. As you stand among these works, you begin to understand why calligraphy has such an honored place in Chinese culture. It is not just art, it is identity. Through these characters, one can trace the soul of a nation, the flow of its language, and the continuity of its thought. From Confucius to poets of the Tang dynasty, from scholars of the Ming court to modern masters, each stroke carries forward a legacy unbroken for thousands of years. The Calligraphy Gallery is a place of deep stillness. Even in the heart of a bustling museum, time seems to pause here. You can hear your own breathing. You can feel the rhythm of the brush echoing across centuries. It is in this quiet space that the voice of ancient China still speaks, not through sound, but through line and form, through art born of language and soul. And as you leave the gallery, you realize something profound, that every word, every stroke, every movement of the brush is a record of life itself. Ink fades, paper ages, but the spirit behind those strokes, that spirit endures forever. As you leave the quiet meditation of the Calligraphy Gallery, a new kind of silence awaits, one filled not with words, but with visions. You step into a vast, softly lit space where brush and ink give birth to entire worlds. This is the Painting Gallery, the heart of China's visual imagination. Here walls unfold like scrolls, each painting a window into time, place, and soul. Across silk and paper, mountains rise, rivers flow, and clouds drift across infinite skies. These are not mere landscapes, they are living poems, reflections of the artist's mind, shaped by thought as much as by nature. In traditional Chinese painting, the goal is not to reproduce what the eye sees, but to express what the heart feels. It is a philosophy of harmony between humans and the world, between the seen and the unseen. The brush does not only describe the mountain, it captures its spirit. The artist does not only paint the tree, he paints the wind that moves through it. Each painting is a journey. Some take you deep into mist-covered valleys, where scholars walk among pine forests and waterfalls whisper in the distance. Others carry you to lonely pavilions, where poets sit by candlelight, gazing at the moon and letting their thoughts drift like clouds. Every scene is both real and imagined, grounded in the world yet elevated by contemplation. The masters of the Tang and Song dynasties understood this harmony deeply. Their art was not meant to dazzle with color or detail, but to inspire reflection. They painted with simplicity, a few brushstrokes, a sweep of ink, a wash of gray, yet within that simplicity lay infinite depth. The emptiness of space became as meaningful as the forms themselves. In Chinese painting, what is left blank is as important as what is filled. Emptiness allows the spirit to breathe. One famous scroll, stretching across an entire wall, shows a great river winding through distant mountains. Tiny figures travel along a path, their journey small compared to the vastness around them. It reminds the viewer that humanity is but one part of a much greater order, humble, transient, yet deeply connected to nature. Elsewhere, vibrant works from the Ming and Qing dynasties reveal new styles and energy. Color returns, brushwork grows freer, and imagination blossoms. Artists experiment with form, merging poetry, painting, and philosophy into one seamless expression. Their works are filled with emotion, joy, solitude, nostalgia, and peace. Some even add their own calligraphy or poetry to the painting, blending visual beauty with the power of words. In the quiet of the gallery, each painting feels alive. The faint texture of silk, the subtle shimmer of ink, the balance of shadow and light, all combine to create a rhythm that seems to breathe with the viewer. You find yourself not just looking, but listening to the wind through ancient pines, the ripple of a river, the distant cry of a crane in flight. Every artwork in this gallery carries the echo of the artist's spirit. Their brushes were not merely tools, they were extensions of the self. To paint was to meditate, to seek unity with nature, and to find stillness within movement. This is why Chinese landscape painting is often called Shanshui, mountain and water. It represents not only the outer world but the balance of opposites that exists in all things. As you walk further, you notice how the light changes, subtly shifting as if to match the tone of each artwork. The curators have designed the space not as a display, but as an experience, a slow unfolding of thought and beauty. Visitors move quietly, each person absorbed, each painting inviting them to pause and reflect. At the far end of the gallery hangs a piece that seems to capture the essence of it all. A single, simple brush painting of bamboo swaying in the wind. The lines are spare, almost abstract, yet full of vitality. Bamboo, in Chinese culture, symbolizes resilience, grace, and integrity. It bends with the wind, but never breaks. In that humble image lies the soul of an entire civilization, enduring, flexible, and forever reaching upward. When you finally leave the gallery, you do so in silence. You feel as though you have walked through both time and dream, through landscapes painted not only with ink, but with spirit. The world outside seems louder now, brighter, faster, but part of you remains within those mountains and rivers, where the brush captured eternity in a single line. The air seems cooler as you enter the next gallery. Soft lights shimmer across glass cases, casting delicate reflections on the walls. Here, everything glows softly, quietly, eternally. This is the Jade Gallery, home to one of China's most sacred materials, a stone revered not only for its beauty but for its soul. For over 8,000 years, jade has been called the stone of heaven. It was more than ornament, it was a bridge between the mortal and the divine. In ancient China, jade symbolized virtue, purity, and immortality. It was the material of emperors and sages, used in rituals, jewelry, and burial rites. To touch jade was to touch eternity. Each piece in this gallery tells a story written not in ink or color, but in stone. You see small pendants carved in the shape of dragons and phoenixes, symbols of power and harmony. You see ceremonial discs, their smooth surfaces gleaming like still water, once used in offerings to the heavens. You see intricate carvings of flowers, animals, and mythical creatures, each detail shaped with patience beyond imagination. The craftsmanship is breathtaking. Jade is not easily tamed. It is one of the hardest stones on earth, and yet, ancient artisans shaped it with tools of bamboo and sand. They worked for months, sometimes years, to create a single piece. Every curve, every polish, every delicate engraving reflects not just skill, but devotion. In Chinese philosophy, jade embodies all the qualities of a noble person. Its smoothness represents kindness. Its strength symbolizes courage. Its transparency, purity of heart, and its subtle glow, wisdom. To the ancients, jade was a moral compass, a reminder that beauty is not only seen, but lived. One display holds jade burial suits from the Han Dynasty. Tiny plates of green stone stitched together with gold thread. They were made to protect the bodies of princes and nobles in the afterlife, a final armor against decay. Standing before it, you sense both reverence and mystery, a belief that jade could preserve not only the body, but the spirit. Another case holds a jade by a circular disc with a hole in its center. Its form is simple, yet profound. The circle represents the sky, the center, the unknown. It was used in ancient ceremonies to honor the heavens and seek harmony between man and nature. The surface gleams faintly, as if still reflecting the prayers once offered through it. As you move through the gallery, the light changes subtly, from pale green to deep gold, from cool jade to warm amber tones. You begin to understand why this stone held such spiritual meaning. It seems alive, breathing softly in the quiet air. Each piece glows from within, not with brilliance, but with calm like moonlight resting on still water. Jade was also deeply personal. Families passed it through generations, not for wealth, but for blessing. A pendant worn close to the heart was said to absorb the spirit of its wearer, becoming more radiant over time. In this way, jade was not only stone, it was memory, lineage, and love preserved in mineral form. In one corner of the gallery stands a modern piece, a simple jade sculpture shaped like a wave. It connects the ancient to the present, showing how this timeless material still inspires artists today. The techniques may have changed, but the reverence remains. Even now, jade continues to symbolize balance between earth and heaven, man and nature, tradition and modernity. Standing there, surrounded by centuries of artistry, you realize something profound. Jade has no voice, yet it speaks deeply. It whispers of patience, of virtue, of the eternal connection between humanity and the world around us. It reminds us that beauty is not fleeting. True beauty endures, glowing quietly across time. When you leave the gallery, you carry that stillness with you, a quiet echo of green light, ancient and alive, resting gently in your heart. The light grows dimmer as you descend into the next hall. A deep, resonant hush fills the air, the kind of silence that feels ancient, weighty, alive. This is the Bronze Gallery, where the voices of China's earliest civilizations still echo through metal and time. In the bronzes gleam with an earthy glow, dark green, brown, and gold, their surfaces marked by the gentle touch of centuries. Each vessel stands like a monument, heavy with presence, carved with patterns of dragons, clouds, and thunder. These are not mere artifacts. They are messages from 3,000 years ago, from the dawn of Chinese civilization. Bronze was the first material to bind technology, art, and belief into one. It marked the age of kings and rituals, when the forging of metal was both craft and ceremony. To create a bronze vessel was to channel the divine, to capture heaven's power in earthly form. In ancient China, bronze was not used for war or wealth alone. It was sacred. These vessels were made to speak to the gods. The Shang and Zhou dynasties, long before the Great Wall, before paper, before the empire itself, saw bronze as the voice of ancestors. Through these ritual vessels, rulers offered food and wine to their forebears, seeking blessings for their kingdoms. Each object was more than a container, it was a bridge between worlds. You approach a massive bronze ding, a tripod cauldron with broad handles and powerful legs. Its surface is alive with intricate patterns, swirling clouds, stylized beasts, and coiled dragons. The dragon, in ancient belief, was a symbol of authority and transformation, a creature that connected heaven, earth, and water. When the flames of sacrifice rose within this sting, it was said that the dragon's spirit carried the offering to the heavens. Nearby stands a gui, an elegant bowl used for grain offerings. Its inscriptions, carved in ancient script, are faint but clear enough to read names of kings, prayers for peace, records of victory. Each line preserves a moment of triumph, a fragment of faith. These bronzes are not silent. They speak in the language of power and devotion. You can almost imagine the scene. A royal court, thousands of years ago. The air thick with incense and the deep beat of drums. Priests chanting hymns, nobles bowing before the altar, firelight dancing across bronze surfaces. In that glow, art and ritual became one. Every clang of metal was a heartbeat of civilization. What makes these objects extraordinary is not only their beauty, but their endurance. Through wars, dynasties, and centuries of change, they have survived, untouched by time's decay. Their weight feels eternal, their voices unbroken. Each piece still carries the breath of its maker, the hum of the furnace, the rhythm of the hammer, the silence after creation. On another wall, you see smaller bronzes, bells, mirrors, animal-shaped vessels, each one meticulously crafted. Even the handles and lids are carved with life. Tigers with curved bodies, owls with wide eyes, serpents locked in eternal circles. They seem to move when the light shifts, frozen mid-drawer mid-flight. Mid-song. One case displays an ancient bronze bell, tall, hollow, perfectly balanced. If struck, it would still ring clear after 3,000 years. In that lingering tone, one can almost hear the heartbeat of ancient China. Steady and enduring. The gallery reminds you that these bronzes were not simply tools of ritual, they were symbols of legitimacy. To own and display them was to command the mandate of heaven. Each emperor, each dynasty, inherited not just the objects but the divine authority they represented. Power in China was not only political, it was sacred, and bronze was its sacred language. As you move toward the final display, you see how art evolved, how the functional became ceremonial, and the ceremonial became eternal. From the rough power of early bronzes to the refined grace of later dynasties. Each step reflects a civilization growing in complexity, wisdom, and beauty. Standing there, surrounded by the glow of ancient metal, you feel time collapsing, the past breathing beside you. The air hums with history, with memory, with quiet reverence. You realize that what began as molten metal in the hands of early craftsmen has become something far greater, a song of endurance, a symbol of human faith, a monument of spirit cast in bronze. When you finally leave the gallery, the silence feels heavier, yet strangely peaceful. You carry with you the echo of drums, the shimmer of fire, and the unspoken truth that civilizations rise and fall. But the voices they cast into art, those never fade. You step into a vast, softly shadowed space where time seems suspended. The air feels cooler, the light dimmer, filtered through layers of quiet reverence. Here, stone and bronze, once lifeless, take on human warmth and divine presence. This is the sculpture hall, where faith, art, and eternity meet. Before you stand the silent witnesses of centuries, serene Buddhas, graceful bodhisattvas, guardians, and saints carved from stone, bronze, and wood. Their faces glow with a stillness that transcends time. Some are massive, towering figures whose eyes seem to see beyond the world. Others are small and delicate, their expressions soft as whispers. Together, they form a gallery of devotion, a visual hymn to belief itself. The story of Chinese sculpture is, in many ways, the story of spiritual awakening. When Buddhism first entered China over 2,000 years ago, it brought not only philosophy, but a new language of form. Artists began to shape the unseen compassion, wisdom, enlightenment, into tangible, human forms. And so, from the caves of Dunhuang to the temples of Longmen, stone became spirit. You move slowly among these forms. Each statue radiates a calm that seems almost alive. The eyes, half closed, suggest meditation. The faint smile speaks of peace beyond understanding. Their hands form mudras, gestures that symbolize teaching, blessing, or fearlessness. Though carved from cold material, they emanate warmth, the quiet assurance of eternal presence. Some sculptures date back to the Northern Wei dynasty, their features elegant and elongated, influenced by Indian styles brought along the Silk Road. Others from the Tench dynasty reveal a distinctly Chinese grace, rounded faces, gentle folds and flowing robes, expressions filled with compassion. You can see, within these changes, how foreign faith became one with Chinese culture, how Buddhism merged seamlessly with local philosophy, harmony, and art. In one corner stands a bodhisattva of compassion, carved from white marble. Her head tilts slightly downward, her expression tender and knowing. The craftsmanship is so delicate that light seems to breathe along the curves of her face. She holds a lotus in one hand, a symbol of purity rising from the mud of the world. Standing before her, you feel not awe, but comfort, a silent understanding that all suffering, too, can transform into beauty. Nearby, a guardian figure looms in contrast. Fierce, muscular, cast in bronze. His stance is powerful, his gaze unyielding, protecting the sacred space from evil. His body radiates strength, but his expression carries compassion, the duality of destruction and protection in perfect balance. This is the eternal yin and yang, power and mercy coexisting within the same divine form. Between these extremes, the hall flows like a meditation. You pass from serenity to strength, from human to celestial, from form to form. Each sculpture is a moment of stillness carved into being, a reflection of belief, devotion, and the search for meaning. Some works show traces of color, once bright in vivid reds, golds, blues, pigments, long faded with time. You can almost imagine how they once shone under temple lamps, surrounded by the scent of incense and the low murmur of prayers. Even now, their presence fills the space with a kind of sacred light, not from above, but from within. The deeper you walk, the more you sense the invisible energy connecting these figures. They are not only art, they are vessels of human hope. Each was carved by hands guided by faith, not to decorate, but to reveal. Through them, the divine took shape in human imagination, and the human reached toward the divine. At the end of the hall stands one final figure, a great seated Buddha, carved from sandstone, his hands resting in calm repose. The folds of his robe ripple like water, his face serene, timeless, infinite. His eyes seem to look both inward and outward, seeing the universe within himself. Before him, the room falls completely silent. You can feel the centuries dissolve, leaving only stillness, and breath, and light. The sculpture hall is not just a gallery. It is a sanctuary, a place where stone becomes soul, where devotion becomes form. In these faces of the divine, you see not only gods and spirits, but humanity itself, its longing, its compassion, its endless search for meaning. And as you leave, you carry with you that quiet peace, that sacred silence, a reminder that even carved from stone, faith can live, breathe, and endure forever. The journey through the Shanghai Museum draws to its quiet close. Yet even as you step toward the final hall, it feels less like an ending and more like a circle, a return to where time, art, and spirit meet. The echoes of jade and bronze, the whispers of calligraphy and sculpture, still linger in the air like the last notes of an ancient song. Here, in the heart of modern Shanghai, this museum stands as a bridge between worlds. Outside, the city hums with the rhythm of the future, steel towers glinting beneath the endless skyline, cars flowing like rivers of light. Inside, the pulse slows, and time unfolds layer by layer, revealing thousands of years of civilization. Every gallery, every artifact, every brushstroke tells the story of a people, not just of what they created, but of who they were, and who they still are. The Shanghai Museum is more than a collection of objects. It is a mirror of China's soul. It reflects a civilization built on harmony, wisdom, and continuity, a culture that has endured the storms of history yet never lost its grace. Here, ancient art is not locked behind glass. It breathes, it teaches, it connects. Each piece carries the heartbeat of generations, passed from craftsman to scholar, from emperor to artist, from past to present. As you walk through the final corridors, you pass displays that bring together the threads of all you've seen. Bronze beside jade, calligraphy beside painting, sculpture beside ceramic. It feels as though the boundaries between art forms dissolve, merging into one great story, the story of humanity expressed through beauty and thought. It is a reminder that art, at its purest, is unity. At the center of the hall stands a single piece, a simple bronze mirror. Its surface, polished to a faint glow, reflects your face as you look upon it. For a moment, you see yourself not as a visitor, but as part of the continuum, one among countless souls who have looked into mirrors like this across the ages. The reflection seems to whisper, "You too are part of this story." The museum's design itself speaks this language of connection. Its round dome and square base symbolize the ancient belief: heaven is round, earth is square. This harmony of shapes, of past and present, of earth and sky, defines not just the architecture, but the philosophy of the place. It is the balance between tradition and innovation, the essence of China itself. You step outside at last, into the heart of People's Square. The sunlight has shifted, afternoon gold spilling across the plaza, touching the museum's bronze facade with warmth. The city buzzes around you, children playing, voices mingling, life in motion. And yet, beneath all that movement, there is stillness, the kind of stillness that only comes from remembering where you came from. You glance back one more time at the building, its graceful form shaped like an ancient ding, the bronze vessel that once connected heaven and earth. It stands not only as a museum, but as a symbol of endurance, a reminder that a culture thousands of years old still stands, still evolves, still shines. Inside its walls lie stories that stretch across dynasties and empires, across ink and flame, across silence and song. Each artifact, each painting, each sculpture is a fragment of a much larger truth, that civilization is not measured by power or wealth, but by what it chooses to remember. The Shanghai Museum remembers. It remembers the artisans who carved stone with their hands, the poets who wrote by candlelight, the emperors who ruled with faith in heaven's will, the thinkers, painters, and dreamers who shaped a civilization with brush and soul. And as you stand once more in the light of modern Shanghai, You realize that their legacy is not behind you, it lives within you.